What do you mean you canceled it? I didn't realize I'd raised my voice until a few heads turned in the office corridor. I slipped into an empty nook by the stairwell, phone pressed hard to my ear, pulse tap-tapping like a warning. The venue was excessive, Jenna, my mother said. So controlled it almost sounded rehearsed. Your father and I agreed a simpler gathering is more appropriate. Appropriate. The word stung, neat and antiseptic, as if it could sterilize the mess she'd just made of my plans. The riverside terrace, sunlight over the river, pale stone, strings of lights like captured stars, had been my daydream since I was 16. I had pictured one perfect afternoon where my two worlds, who I was raised to be and who I chose to be, could meet on neutral ground and behave. We already paid the deposit, I said, forcing the words to steady. How much are you saving by pulling out now? A quiet, careful pause. It isn't only about the numbers, dear. It's about setting the right expectations for the life you're choosing. With David's background, starting modestly would be wiser. There it was. Not just money, message. I felt heat climb my neck. Right, expectations. We'll find a charming restaurant back room, she continued, cheerful as a brochure. Something tasteful, intimate. I could hear the door closing on me even as she spoke. I'll talk to you later. I hung up before my voice could betray me. For a moment, I stared at the beige wall and tried to gather the pieces of a day that had begun normally. Coffee, emails, a meeting about daylighting strategies. Then my phone buzzed again. Vanessa. Mom told me about Riverside. Sue, sorry. Silver lining, though. She's upgrading my birthday venue to make up for the family embarrassment. Isn't that great? I read it once, twice, 3 times until the implication sharpened like broken glass. They hadn't canceled because of cost. They'd canceled because of optics. Because of him. Because of us. My throat tightened, but no tears came. Just a clean, cold clarity. My name is Jenna Whitfield, 29, raised in the polished bubble of Amberley Village, where invitations were currency and reputations were heirlooms. My father built a commercial real estate empire on golf greens and gala tables. My mother curated our last name like it belonged under glass. My sister Vanessa adored that world. Law school, lineage-approved boyfriends. The perfect photo at the perfect fundraiser. I picked a different compass. I designed buildings that breathe. Sustainable systems. Smart materials, spaces people can actually afford to inhabit. I took the job that didn't come with a corner office or my father's surname on the stationery, and I bought my own place without touching a trust fund that sat like a dare. Then I met David Chen at a tech conference. Worn jeans, thoughtful eyes, questions that cut straight to the marrow of how cities live and how people move. He was brilliant without announcing it, kind without performing it, enough for me in every way that mattered. The first dinner with my parents was a study in veiled disapproval. A scholarship, a state school, a teacher for a father, a nurse for a mother. Fine people, my parents said with that expert smile that meant not our people. When David mentioned his aging Honda, my mother murmured, "At least he's resourceful," as if thrift were a regional dialect she was trying to tolerate. Still, I told myself time would soften them, that if they truly loved me, they'd learn to see him the way I do. When David proposed with a ring he designed, a quiet, clever twist of metal that fit my hand and my life, they offered careful congratulations and the suggestion of a long engagement. Just to be sure, translation, maybe you'll come to your senses. The engagement party was supposed to be the bridge, a single day where they would show up for me. For us, and now, canceled like an inconvenience on a calendar. I set my phone on my desk, stared at a floor plan that had once felt exciting, and watched the lines blur. A notification popped up. I flinched. Another text from Vanessa, a stickered heart and a glitter gif, as if that could cushion the truth. They were ashamed of the man I loved. The anger that rose wasn't loud. It was cool and precise, a drafting line that suddenly knows where it's going. I drove to my parents' house 3 days later without announcing it, past the familiar hedges trimmed into submission, Up the circular drive that had staged 1,000 respectable arrivals. Extra cars crowded the stones. My aunt's Mercedes, my father's partner's Range Rover, my sister's BMW angled like a staged photo. Inside, I followed the hum of happiness to the sunroom. Fabric swatches. Catering menus. A florist holding up 2 versions of the same perfect white bloom to my mother, who pointed like a queen assigning fates. "The river light is divine," she was saying. "And if we position the head table here, the view will be unforgettable." My breath snagged. The sound of my voice cut through their planning like a dropped plate. "What is this?" 5 faces turned. 4 of them performed surprise. My mother recovered first. "Jenna, we didn't expect... We're finalizing details for Vanessa's birthday." "At the Riverside Terrace," I said. "Not a question." The florist lowered her flowers. My aunt discovered a sudden emergency text. My father's partner slipped out the side door like mist. Vanessa's cheeks colored. I told Mom it was too soon after. "Everything," she said. "But she says the space is perfect and it's already available," I finished. "Because you canceled my reservation." "Let's discuss this privately," my father said. Straightening his golf shirt, voice stern gentle, the tone he used to fire people nicely. "Why?" I asked. "Everyone here knows what's happening. You refused to host my engagement party because it was too expensive, then booked the exact same venue for Vanessa a week later." I kept my voice soft. "It made the edges cut cleaner. Explain it to me." "It's more complex than that," my mother replied, smile pinned in place. "Vanessa's guest list, the connections your father can foster. So my guests don't count? My celebration didn't warrant the view?" The calm in me held. My father's patience thinned. "Jenna, we've indulged this phase, the tiny firm, the modest apartment. And now David," something steeled in my spine. "What about him?" A glance passed between them, the prelude to a hard truth, lovingly delivered like a sedative. "He isn't suitable," my mother said at last. "Not for the life you were raised for. He's pleasant, but he brings no network, no advantages. He brings love, respect, a partner's backbone," I said. "Things I plan on building a life with." My father exhaled, disappointed. "Deep down, you know he's not right for this family. We're trying to keep you from a mistake." There it was, finally spoken. The thing they'd been skirting since the day he shook my father's hand. Hearing it laid bare didn't break me, it aligned me. Like snapping a level against a wall and discovering exactly how far off the framework is. I left without noise or flung accusations, my heart pounding a slow drum under my ribs. On the drive home, the city slid past. Bridges, brick, glass. Structures that stand because their core holds. I thought about vows. About party lights and business deals and what we choose to celebrate. There would be a reckoning. But it wouldn't look the way they expected. That night, I told David everything. How my mother had traded my day for Vanessa's. How my father had ranked my fiancé lower than a table placement. He didn't bristle. He listened. His sadness for me was sharper than any pride he could have defended for himself. "Some people only believe in the currencies they recognize," he said quietly. "It doesn't change what we are." Didn't. But it did change what I was willing to tolerate. Don't forget to subscribe. For more stories like this, comment below what you would have done in this situation. And if you're enjoying this story, give it a like. It really helps the channel. The week crawled forward, every hour thick with a kind of bitterness I'd never known before. My parents hadn't just canceled a party, they'd made a declaration. David wasn't welcome. Our love wasn't valid. My life, my choices, were footnotes in the Whitfield story, edited down to fit their version of perfection. By Friday morning, the phone rang again. "Vanessa." "Mom's invited the Hendersons," she said, skipping any greeting. I froze. "Jonathan Henderson? As in your ex?" "Yes. Apparently his father's sniffing around Dad's new development. She claims it's strictly business, but we both know what this is." I closed my eyes. Jonathan Henderson, Banking heir, country club staple, the man my parents had practically tried to contractually bind to Vanessa before she'd walked away. I didn't need a blueprint to see what my mother was constructing. A glittering little reunion, with Jonathan seated neatly beside my sister, while David and I faded like unfinished sketches. And Brad? I asked. Vanessa's current boyfriend. Ordinary. Decent. Human. She told him the party was canceled. Didn't even send him an invite. The silence in my condo filled with the sound of betrayal. They weren't just cutting David out of my life, they were engineering Vanessa's too. You realize, I said carefully, she's doing to you what she did to me. Not exactly, Vanessa sighed. I'm the golden child, remember? They won't cancel my party. They'll just control it. A pause, then softer. But Jenna, I am sorry. What they said about David, it was cruel. Even I couldn't defend it. For a moment, hope flickered. An ally, a sister. Then come to our engagement party, I said. I'm booking the rooftop at Mill Creek Brewery. Bring Brad. Let's celebrate what matters, not what they dictate. The line went quiet long enough for me to hear my own heartbeat. I can't, she said finally. Dad's announcing my promotion to junior partner at the firm. I've worked too hard to risk it. The hope dimmed. So you'll let them write your life for you, as long as it comes with a title? I'll make it up to Brad, she insisted. But I can't burn the bridge, Jenna. Not like you. When the call ended, I sat staring at my half-finished digital invitations. What good was a rooftop party when the people who were supposed to stand beside me had already chosen a ballroom without me? By Saturday morning, the day that should have been mine, I found David already dressed, coffee in hand on our small balcony. I've been thinking, he said slowly. Maybe we should go. To Vanessa's party? I nearly dropped my mug. He nodded. Hosting our own feels like running away. But showing up, holding our ground, that's a statement. They'll humiliate you, I warned. They'll make you invisible. He smiled, that calm, unshakable smile that made me fall for him in the first place. They already think I'm not enough. What's the worst they can do? Hours later, the riverside terrace gleamed like a cruel reminder of everything I had lost. Chandeliers dripping light, floral towers brushing the ceiling, the Ohio River sparkling through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Every detail exactly as I'd once imagined. Only it wasn't for me. My mother's eyes widened the moment she spotted us. Her smile faltered before it snapped back into place. She glided over, whispering, Jenna, darling. And David, this is a private event. We didn't send you an invitation. I know, I said evenly. But Vanessa's my sister. I'm here to celebrate her. Her smile tightened to glass. Of course, just don't make this about your situation. The rest of the night unspooled like a performance with us written out of the script. David was mistaken for staff more than once, served last at dinner, and gently excluded from every conversation. My father barely acknowledged me, his attention glued instead to Jonathan Henderson, seated beside Vanessa like a trophy polished for display. And then, his toast. Champagne flute raised, voice booming with pride, my father declared. Tonight we celebrate not only Vanessa's birthday, but the values of our family. Dedication, tradition, the right connections for a successful future. His eyes flicked to Jonathan. Then, I am proud to announce Vanessa's promotion to junior partner at Whitfield Properties, where she will help lead our exciting new venture with Henderson Financial Group. Applause thundered. My sister's face blanched, and I sat frozen, watching the strings pulled tight around her, around all of us. This wasn't about love or happiness. It was about control. Then I noticed him. A stranger across the room, sharp suit, sharp gaze, watching us with open curiosity. He whispered something to my father, gesturing toward David. Recognition flared in his expression. Who is that? I breathed. David's jaw tightened. Robert Maxwell, CEO of Pinnacle Tech. Before I could ask why one of the biggest names in the tech world cared about us, David grabbed my hand. We need to leave, now. As we slipped into the night, my father's voice carried behind us, half confusion, half urgency. Robert Maxwell gesturing toward the door we'd just walked through. Something had shifted, and I didn't yet know how deep the tremors would go. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below. What would you have done if you were Jenna? And if you're enjoying this story, give it a like. It really helps the channel. The car ride home buzzed with questions I couldn't contain. David, why did Maxwell look at you like that? Why did he go straight to my father? David's hands tightened on the wheel, his eyes flicking to me in the glow of the dashboard. Remember that project I've been working on for years? The one I couldn't talk about? The healthcare algorithm, I whispered. He nodded. It's finished, and Pinnacle Tech is acquiring it. The deal closes Monday morning. My breath caught. How big of a deal? David let out a humorless laugh. Pinnacle doesn't do small acquisitions, Jenna. It's life-changing. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with missed calls. 3 from my father, 2 from my mother, and a frantic text from Vanessa. What the hell did David do? Dad and Maxwell are losing their minds. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of power. By midnight, the phone rang again. My father. I answered, setting it on speaker. Jenna. His voice was different, cautious, deferential. Is David with you? We'd like to discuss opportunities. Whitfield Properties is expanding into medical campuses, and his technology, well, it could be a perfect fit. I almost laughed at the audacity. Hours ago, David wasn't good enough for their family. Now, he was their golden ticket. Actually, I said, words forming like steel in my mouth, we'd be happy to discuss it. How about brunch tomorrow? Riverside Terrace. 11 sharp, he agreed instantly. When I hung up, David looked at me, cautious. The Riverside? Are you sure? Absolutely, I said. If they want to talk business, they'll do it in the place they stole from us. And this time, they'll see you exactly as you are, not who they assumed you were. The next morning, sunlight poured into the Riverside Terrace, stripping away the shadows that had hidden so much ugliness. My parents arrived dressed in their Sunday best, smiles stretched tight with anticipation. Vanessa came too, Brad in tow, her own small rebellion. David and I entered last. He wore the same worn button-down and jeans he'd worn the day we met. I chose a simple professional dress. We weren't performing for them. David, wonderful to see you again, my father boomed, shaking his hand like they were old friends. Maxwell speaks very highly of your work. We sat. Mimosas appeared. My father launched into a speech about synergies and future collaborations. My mother chimed in with careful touches to David's arm, as though she'd always approved. When they finally paused, I slid a folder across the table. Inside, the acquisition papers. Before we go further, I said calmly, you should understand the scope. David isn't just developing software. He founded BioPredict. Pinnacle Tech is acquiring it tomorrow for $175 million. The color drained from my father's face. My mother's smile cracked, her eyes darting between the contract and David. Vanessa's jaw dropped. Brad muttered, I applied there once. Didn't even make it past the first interview. I leaned back, my voice steady. All this time you dismissed him because he didn't fit your definition of value. You canceled our celebration because you were embarrassed. But the truth? David has built something extraordinary, and he's done it without your name, your money, or your approval. Silence stretched, heavy and unyielding. My father finally managed. Perhaps we misjudged. We'd be honored to host a proper engagement party, here, of course. No expense spared, I smiled, but there was no softness in it. That won't be necessary. Our celebration is already planned for next Saturday, at the Mill Creek Brewery rooftop, with the people who supported us all along. I stood, taking David's hand. I didn't come here for apologies. I came to show you what you lost. Not just a son-in-law you underestimated, but a daughter you never truly saw. We walked out together, leaving them in the glass and gold cage of their own making. And for the first time, I felt free. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below Do you think Jenna's parents learned their lesson? And if this ending gave you chills, give it a like. It really helps the channel. Justice served, not with fireworks, but with undeniable truth.